We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live, Boxing Ego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live.
Don't do it. Please don't do it. Eddie Hearn completely dumps on Devin Haney's performance over Jose Ramirez. Just like somebody else, Ego, told you in my videos. So now I'm doing another video, just like the other video, where we're going to really break it down like one big happy family. And I love my job. Listen, I tell y'all all the time, I truly love my job because my body of work, no matter how unpopular it may appear to be in real time, over time, it will get respected because I've already left the breadcrumbs. Now you have a promoter who is frequently collaborated with Devin Haney, and he is corroborating everything that Boxing Ego said. The best in the business, and it's not even close. So Eddie Hearn did a brand new interview, and he says that basically Devin fought scary and he fought like a hare. I'll read a direct quote. You guys heard it. It says, Devin Haney had a lot of demons, but he didn't do a very good attempt at masking them. I was getting messages from the first round saying, Devin looks petrified. Right? He went through a lot in the Ryan Garcia fight, but he was just moving. Devin moved like a hare, a rabbit, basically. It was frantic. Actually, when he held his feet in the few times that he did, he hurt Ramirez repeatedly. I felt like with his size, if he held his feet, he would have 100% stopped Ramirez in there. I don't know if he's not the same fighter or if he needed those rounds to get over that barrier. He also says a Ryan rematch is in tatters, basically. He says, quote, then we moved on to Ryan Garcia, which was bizarre. No one really did anything. I don't really know what he was doing. Was it just that he got dropped? Derek James was telling him the right things to do, but he never really tried. Now, I got to pump Eddie Hearn's brakes right there. Day one, I've already told you this Ryan Garcia phenomenon. Everybody else was like, oh, Osterine, he's off the juice. This is why he looked like this. Bro, he got cracked flush on the chin by a big puncher, and for the rest of the fight, he put his hands in his pocket. I don't understand what is hard for people to understand about that. Like, that's, to me, I've seen it time and time again. You got to really watch this sport of boxing. And I don't think it's no more, no less. Once again, Roelly cracked him with double left hooks. If I want to be accurate, I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Double left hooks, which is Ryan's kryptonite. He got dropped in all of his fights he got dropped in the second round. Luke Campbell dropped him second round with the left. Gervonta Davis, when Ryan got aggressive, dropped him in the second round with a left. And then Roelly cracked him with double left hooks with a left. So I don't understand why people keep saying, oh, is this what Ryan is become and this is how he looks off the juice? Again, I understand you looked completely different than the Devin Haney fight, right? So it's natural, I guess, for people to jump that bridge and say, oh, Ryan looked terrible because he's off the juice now. But you got to understand, boxing styles make fights. He didn't fight Devin straight away in a rematch. That, to me, that would have been more telling if the same two people fought back to back, and then Ryan looked like he looked versus Roelly, but with Devin Haney. Then I could understand the Osterine comments a lot more, because same opponent, you both had a year off. If Ryan's performance against the same exact style faltered and he looks significantly worse, then that I think you have a better case of, making that connection. I don't understand why people continue to do that. To me, it didn't really have nothing to do with Ostarine and PEDs. You got up in the second round, and coming off a year layoff and having lost before, feeling that power, knowing that Roelly was cracking you like that in sparring, I really truly believe that it brought up negative thoughts and also like almost PTSD from that sparring session. And now you're on the bigger stage. So Ryan wasn't willing to sell out and go out on his shield. That's really what I seen there. You know what I mean? People can make it into this, that, and the third, but that's what I noticed. Like, tell me my theory doesn't at least make sense. If a guy effed you up in sparring years ago, so you felt his power then, and then now when it actually counts on your record in a bigger, more meaningful scenario and setting, he cracks you again early in the fight, not like in the 11th round, early in the fight. Yeah, I think it's going to bring back those negative thoughts. That would be like if Devin Haney fought Ryan Garcia and got cracked. He might have PTSD from the first fight as well. So Eddie Hearn and a lot of people are like, oh, I don't get it. What was up with Ryan Garcia? It was so bizarre. Why wasn't he listening to Derek James? It's easy to listen from the outside looking in, listen to Derek James and say, oh, this is good advice, you should do it. But it's different to implement it with the guy who was fighting a good fight. I think so many people, they're so shocked by the outcome that they can't fathom it playing out. So the best they could, basically, they thought Roelly was going to lose. They thought Roelly sucks. They thought Roelly had no chance. They seen Roelly was a massive underdog. So it doesn't fit their narrative to just give Roelly credit. It had to be something else, right? It can't just be Roelly and Salas came out with a great game plan. Roelly is a power puncher and he's confident there. Roelly knew Ryan Garcia very well, right? Roelly said these things. Like, people need to start giving Roelly his props, bro. Roelly predicted a couple things very accurately in boxing, like Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence. He said Errol Spence is going to get washed, and that's what happened. He said before the fight with Ryan Garcia, he says, I know Ryan Garcia, like, I don't know his words, but he said something like, I know him very well. I know him better than he knows himself, better than his girl knows him. I know how he fights. I know him. And then Ryan must have said something like, oh, that's weird. But Roelly told you he knows Ryan Garcia. So people are like almost in denial. Like, it can't just be Roelly has his number. And here's the thing. If you really, truly know boxing, like Ego know boxing, you'll know that even if a guy is perceived more skilled, sometimes guys who aren't as quote unquote skilled, they have your number. Like, look at Tony Thompson versus David Price. David Price is bigger, he's supposed to be stronger, and he's a decorated amateur. Tony Thompson really wasn't supposed to beat him. He beat him. Then they ran it back. He knocked him out again. You see what I'm saying? I could do this all day because I am boxing. You look at Mayorga. Mayorga is not more skilled than Vernon Forrest. Vernon Forrest, rest in peace, the Viper, beat Shane Mosley in the amateurs and as pros. So I would say he is a very skilled boxer. Yet a wild man, like primitive caveman trash talker that smokes cigarettes like Ricardo Mayorga, beat Vernon Forrest. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's why I say boxing, you can't use triangle theories and things like that. It don't work like that. Some guys, if they just have your number and you can fight multiple times, they kind of know what they're up against. So I had to go on that sidebar rant because I keep seeing so many people just lay on the Ostarine and act like they can't understand what happened that night. Ryan was getting hurt in the fight, being on a year layoff. You try to be on a year layoff and get hurt in public on national TV and see how willing you are to potentially get knocked out. Roelly fought a great fight. Roelly had his right hand up. Ryan's best weapon is a left hook. And see, this is the thing is Ryan has always been kind of considered a left hook artist, right? See, that's how I know some of you guys is low-hanging fruit. You don't really know boxing. You just go with the common narratives and stuff like that. Ryan has been considered a left hook artist, right? So what happens when you take away someone's primary weapon, right? Just like Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder, people say his right hand is the real missile. Even though he has power in both hands, the right hand is the real punch that you got to watch out. So if you're able to strip that away for whatever reason and take that away or neutralize it, then it becomes a totally different fight. Plus, Ryan was on a year layoff. I mean, and Roelly fought a good fight. Like I said, he had his right hand glued to his temple, and he fought a disciplined fight with power. So, and he was able to keep the pace down. You know, these fights collectively, the main event, co-main event, and then the next day, Canelo, they're like top 3, top 5 fights with the fewest amount of punches thrown in 12 rounders. So that kind of benefited Roelly that it was at a slower pace. Tank and other people, they put a different level of pressure and skills to it. So Pitbull definitely put a different pressure on Roelly, but also put a different pressure on Roelly. So Ryan not throwing punches and putting his hands in pocket after getting dropped, it led to that fight being like that. That's why I said Devin Haney didn't really have, given what he was in there with, he didn't really have an excuse to be fighting like that. Ramirez looked like faded. Roelly looked like a live dog that had picked up a few subtle new tricks with power. So, all right, that's my rant. Anyway, back to what Eddie Hearn was saying. Quote, then we moved on to Ryan Garcia, which was bizarre. I've already went over that. No one really did anything. I don't know what he was doing. Was it that he just got dropped? Derek James was telling him the right things to do, but Ryan never really tried. Is it the moment? Is it the confidence? Has he fallen out of love with it all? Did he get hurt and didn't want to engage? Right? None of them are really encouraging, but Roelly didn't really do anything. It was a weird fight. Right? And he says, then you got the big rematch now. The rematch is in tatters between Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney. In tatters. It's nowhere near the value that it was. And I think both guys need another fight. I mean, Ryan has to. I don't know if there's a rematch clause. Again, you're not going to be screaming to see both guys anytime soon. They've got to go out and put together a performance. It's the entertainment business. You're getting all that money. Everybody's stock fell on Friday and Saturday. When you're getting all that money and you know what you're signing up for, you got to be a little bit mentally tougher than that. The thing about Ryan and Devin is they're not killers. You got to have the mentality. But it was disappointing on that grand stage. So Eddie Hearn, he's saying they ain't killers. They ain't got that kill shot, that Kobe Bryant, that Michael Jordan, that Black Mamba mentality. Now, again, I went on a whole rant about the Ryan thing. Ryan's performance sucked. Devin Haney's performance sucked for different reasons. The Haney-acts, they're getting mad like, oh, why aren't you talking about Ryan? I did a 42-minute video talking about Ryan and Roelly, and never once did I say Ryan looked good in that fight. Devin Haney is considered to be a skillful boxer, and he's even compared himself to Floyd Mayweather. That's a different level of pressure. That's pressure that he's not living up to. And then now what makes this more punchy is that a promoter that has worked with you. Ryan Garcia and Eddie Hearn never promotionally had fights where they worked on fights, just the two of them, right? Because Ryan's been with Golden Boy. So for Eddie Hearn, who has promotionally and had promotional working relationship on multiple fights with Devin Haney, that's crazy because he's keeping it real, but he really is throwing Devin Haney under the bus, which you all the time, you don't really hear that. You don't hear that. Sometimes people, they have relationships where they'll try to protect the fighter so they won't keep it real, and partly it could be Devin Haney's fault too, because Devin Haney acted like a brat and went on public record on social media calling Eddie Hearn basically a fake and a snake. And he blasted it over some Anthony Joshua, Daniel Dubois tickets that he thought he was entitled to. So maybe Eddie Hearn behind the scenes is just like, all right, we done patched it up. I'll work with him, but I'm not holding back. I'm not going to protect him. I mean, I don't know that that's the case, but it seems like it, because recent Eddie Hearn interviews, he's not really holding back on Devin Haney. And I applaud that, because for one, he's not promotionally connected to you. So you don't have an obligation where you just have to sing his praises and you can't be real. If you want somebody to, I guess, sugarcoat it, I guess you would at least have to be signed into their imprint. And since Devin's more of a free agent and he gets to bounce around, that's what comes with that territory. It comes with that territory that, you're not promotionally obligated to do business with me. You don't have fights scheduled with me. So, I could keep it real on you. We don't owe each other nothing, especially when Devin Haney said that Eddie Hearn was a fake and a snake over some tickets, So I respect Eddie Hearn for keeping it real, but what does this say about the Haneyacks? Once again, the Haneyacks look so dumb. This is why I am the best in the business, and it's not even close. You notice the Haneyacks content creators, they never tell you anything that is remotely critical of Devin Haney, right? So that's just not realistic. His performance did not impress most people. But notice they were focused on Ryan. They were focused on Canelo Skull the next day. They didn't want to talk about Devin Haney. But now the rest of the boxing world is talking about Devin Haney. And per usual, not keeping it real comes back to bite the Haneyacks in the rear. A guy that's worked with Devin Haney and promoted him, Eddie Hearn, is telling you verbatim what Boxing Ego said. He said the Haney-Ryan-Garcia fight fell from grace. The value of that fight definitely went down because of the way they performed, which is exactly what I said. That is 100% true. And that's also a knock on Turkey's event, because your boy Ego told you this before the fight. I said, in these situations, strike while the iron's hot. The world wants to see Haney get a rematch at Ryan Garcia. You don't put anything in their way. So if they look garbage, they're going to look garbage fighting each other, right? And that would have at least been better, because it would have been a bigger moment and it would have gave us the closure that we needed. Turkey, he wanted to do things his way. He went against Boxing Ego and my insight and decided to put interim fights before both of them. And not one, but two. Both of them look bad for different reasons. Ryan looked bad because once he got cracked and dropped, then he almost gave up and mentally quit and didn't look like he was willing to try to get things going his way and turn things around. So he wasn't willing to sell out, go for broke, like Gabe Rosado and guys like that who are always going to try until the final bell or until you knock them out. So that hurts Ryan, and it hurt the rematch. For Devin, he definitely won, but he didn't impress in winning. Like Eddie Hearn is saying, he fought like a hare. He's moving around, jumping around like House of Pain over here. And Eddie Hearn said it. He said people were texting him, hitting him up like, Devin, what's wrong with him? He looked petrified. I don't see how this was ever the game plan. And for me, this is extremely bad for Devin, given who he was supposed to be. It looks like the Ryan Garcia fight actually did something to you and took something away. And if it didn't, you did not do a good job on your opportunity on your platform versus Jose Ramirez to put those thoughts at bay. Like if people thought that Devin Haney was not going to be the same with Ryan Garcia, that performance furthered those beliefs. Whether it's true or not, you're only as good as your last performance in boxing. And I feel like people looking at that performance will be like, yo, this man doesn't look the same. So I think Devin did a decent job in the buildup of compartmentalizing everything to look unbothered, but that totally unraveled when he got in the ring. So what do I mean? When he was just doing press conferences and stuff, he seemed pretty unbothered, like, I guess, regular Devin Haney, right? He didn't seem like he was too depressed or whatever from the Ryan Garcia fight. He was still talking trash, still talking and sounding confident. But when he got in the ring, he didn't really fight in that confident fashion. Like, you were supposed to step on Jose Ramirez. You fought a guy off a loss. You fought a guy at a weight that benefits you. You had youth on your side because you're the younger fighter. And you just kept moving. Even though Ramirez couldn't catch you, he wasn't really giving you much reason to not go for it a little bit. You know, I can understand if he was throwing like hard shots or one of them connected and you're like, all right, I got to stay on my bike. None of that happened. So you fought petrified. You fought like you had a PTSD. You fought like you're not the same from the Ryan Garcia fight. So all these things in combination have hurt Haney-Garcia for sure, the rematch. For real, I went from really wanting to see the fight for closure and feeling the boxing world needs it to now I really don't care if they fight next, because off of both of their performances, I don't even know what to expect. It's like they kind of like ruined the trajectory of each other in their fight in April. Ryan, because he went downhill down a weird rabbit hole, plus tested positive for Osterine, and then comes back and then loses, which doesn't look good. And then for Devin, you just look like a compromised fighter that isn't as confident as the Devin that fought Regis Prograis and Lomachenko and everybody else before that. So now your old promoter, Eddie Hearn, is saying the same thing. But the Haneyacks wouldn't tell you any of this, but it's the truth. So you guys know when it comes to boxing talk and dialogue, I'm that dude, the best in the business, and it's not even close. I don't care who's mad. I'm not saying things to make people mad, but I will say the truth and I will speak the truth. There's a lot of people, they've been trying to protect Devin Haney and act like, oh no, that was a good performance, masterclass performance, you guys are haters, and do all this other stuff. But nobody really believes that in the industry. So how do the Haneyacks see it like that? Shane Mosley is doing a fight or something, and at the press conference, he was helping Devin Haney prepare for the fight. He said, I'm not Devin Haney. The guy was like, oh, don't get in there and run or something. And he's like, I ain't Devin Haney. I'm a fighter. You know what I mean? So that's kind of a slight to Devin Haney. And Shane Mosley did a interview saying Bill is the reason why Devin was running like that. So for a person who was on the team, that don't really sound good. You know what I mean? Like off of that performance. Eddie Hearn, who kind of works with Devin Haney on and off now, he's telling you what it is too. And then the Haneyacks are the only ones doubting it and saying Devin Haney looked supreme and looked superb. And I guess another reason why people are looking at this fight so harshly for Devin is you're in a new weight class. You went halfway there, 144 catch weight. Who can you beat at 147 performing like that? Because you didn't even fight a real welterweight, and you fought a guy coming off of a loss and a guy who looks faded. He looks worn out. He looks shop worn, right? And that's how you chose to fight him. So how do you beat a Boots Ennis like that? How do you beat Cody Crowley like that? How do you beat Brian Norman like that? Anybody who's relevant or better at 147, how can you beat him if that's where your confidence is and that's where your performance is? And then, you know, Eddie Hearn says something to the fact of maybe he had to just get some rounds in. But still, like, so now he got the rounds in. People are still roasting his performance. he's just going to come back like Rambo, you know what I mean, at the full 147. I don't know. It's kind of hard. Basically, if we're really being real, this is what the Haney content creators don't want you to know. Devin's off of back-to-back bad performances. And if we take it a step further than that, if you look at his last 4 fights, 3 of them are kind of questionable. The Lomachenko fight, people question if he really won. Regis Prograis, I was at that fight. He looked good in that fight, sharp, right? So that's the one good one. But then the Ryan fight, we know what that was. He got dropped a gang of times. And then the Ramirez fight, you won, and you definitely won, but you seem like squeamish and very scared, like you didn't want to get hit. So it just wasn't a good look. So again, out of 4 of your last fights, 3 of them people had negative criticisms for. Loma fight, Ryan fight, and the Ramirez fight for different reasons. So like I said from the beginning, Devin is in between a rock and a hard place. We unpacked.
Live streaming can be tough, which is why I use StreamYard. Click the link in the description for StreamYard, which is an awesome tool that enables you to set up your stream with ease of use. Get great results with live streaming. It's what I use. Stream to social media with ease with StreamYard. Live streaming is here to stay. Engage with your audience using StreamYard. Great way to reach out to your audience and connect. So you need a tool that can do that. If you're new to YouTube and you're struggling to get views, one tool I can provide to you is TubeBuddy. I've been on YouTube over 10 years. I use TubeBuddy daily to crank out videos just like this one that you're watching. Learn how the pros do it with TubeBuddy. YouTube receives a lot of traffic, which also means a lot of creators, a lot of people putting out content. So you need to learn the ropes so you know how to separate yourself, especially if you're new. But even if you're a pro, use TubeBuddy. The link is in the description. Get more views, more subscribers, and a higher click-through rate, so ultimately you can realize all of your online goals. Use my affiliate link in the description and grow your channel fast.